Hi guys, welcome back. I'm Amanda Wilson. I practice out of Hampton Holistic Center, and I'm here with Jennifer Brennan, owner of Much Needed Wellness. We are Reiki Master Teachers, and we are here today to discuss chakras and traumas that may affect your chakras and what that kind of looks like on a personal level. When we talk about traumas to the chakras, we're talking about events that may have occurred that create a negative response or a negative reaction to situations. And at first, those can seem to be positive coping mechanisms for survival or whatever it is that you needed at the time. But then later in life, they become negative patterns that no longer serve you and may create difficulty in you living the fulfilling life that you deserve.
I think that's well said.
Yeah.
Very well said.
Um, so what does it look like for traumas? What kind of chakra traumas have you experienced?
I would say that my biggest area of trauma has been my heart chakra.
Okay.
And I think that's really what has accelerated my path and just shown me my path. Because I do believe personally that things don't happen necessarily they happen for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my heart, to give you a little history on me, I have abandonment issues. I've never met my father. And growing up, that left a literal hole in my heart. Like as a kid, you feel like you're not good enough. And if there's something wrong with you. Oh, he didn't want me. And later on, you realize that it was just an embryo or just some cells that he had known at the time. It's not personal to you. But that had led to my later patterns with my heart being either overactive or underactive. I'm always overgiving, giving to feel loved, and then kind of shutting down because I don't feel like protected in my heart. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just constant back and forth. But through that, it's really taught me about myself, and it's really guided me towards my journey of self-love.
Yeah.
And so I'm not so much upset that it happened. I believe that I was meant to have a broken heart, to learn how to fix my broken heart so that I can help others fix their broken hearts.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah.
What about you?
So I think for me, like just, looking back, I look a lot at the root chakra, the first chakra that's at the base of the spine. And the root chakra for me, because, when I was first born, my mom got sick while she was in the hospital. And so from what I've heard, I don't have memory of this. From what I've heard is, she had a fever. And so the nurses would come and she had a fever and they would take me away and whisk me away to the nursery and she wouldn't be able to be with me. And then finally the doctors would clear it and those nurses would bring me back in the room. And then a new set of nurses would come on staff and they'd discover she had a fever and they'd, whisk me away. And so this back and forth sort of, poor physical bonding at that, initial stage of life. And when we look at the root chakra, that's like, very, very important. Abandonment is also a root chakra issue. And then, a little later on in my childhood, I had a lot of medical trauma that was intestinal. So I had to go through a lot of GI doctors and things that were sort of, as a child feeling violated by having medical exams and certain treatments. And so, the root chakra is really where my issues, started. Like you, I also feel that it's important. I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't go back and say I wanted to live a different life because I do think that having lived through those things and getting where I am today has really kind of guided me to this path of where I'm at now, which I feel very good about being on this path.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, it's hard to, for me, it's a consistent struggle to connect with my body, and really be in my body. So I think too, like with the heart chakra stuff, you probably have a very hard time balancing relationships.
Oh yeah. I give.
Yeah.
And it's hard because then, you know, I've been in therapy and I've really worked on figuring out the root cause of it. So it's not so much anymore, but I used to give in hopes to that like people would see my value.
Hmm.
And in all actuality, I was trying to show myself my value.
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy
Yeah.
that it just full circle?
Right.
It's tough.
It is. It is. It's a lot of self work, to discover these things and to work on them is challenging. It's not easy, but so well worth it.
Rewarding. I think we have to have more compassion for ourselves
Oh
and
yeah.
the work that we're doing and that we're human and that
Yeah.
we make mistakes. We
Yeah.
have this, I feel like I hold myself to a standard that's very high. And when I can't meet that, I disappoint myself
Yeah.
almost.
Right.
And like we've talked in the past, we wouldn't talk to others the same way.
Right. We
It's really
wouldn't.
just having compassion for ourselves, acknowledging that we are the way we are because of what's happened to us, but then taking a hold of it and recognizing that we have the control of our future.
Yes.
And instead of holding on to these past traumas and identifying our entire identity behind them, because I feel like a lot of people do that as well. I
Hmm.
feel like they're so connected to what they've been through that they're afraid to let it go. They don't know who they are without it.
Right. Well, identifying as, as your, your mental illness or your, the pain, a lot of times people, I think we talked before about the nervous system and the neural pathways and how the nervous system, the neurological law that the body likes sameness or the path of least
Mhm.
resistance. And so when we are consistently living in a state of fear or anxiety, then that's the short circuit we have for every situation. So if I respond with fear over and over and over again, that's going to be the first response I get in almost any
Mhm.
situation is fear. But if, I start to retrain my brain, reprogram those short circuits to be a different shortcut,
Make a
staying
conscious
calm.
decision.
Yeah, staying calm, practicing things in a safe space like meditation and self reiki, to practice for situations where I may need to remain calm and not be in fear. I'm practicing it and then putting myself in this, not intentionally putting myself, but when I get into those situations, it's easier to react or respond because I
Exactly.
practiced a new pathway, a
You
new
do
neural.
that in anything. You do that in sports. You do
Yeah,
that in life. You
right.
practice so that when you're in the situation in school, you practice so that when you're in your job, you know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's often a stigma about mental health and working on your mind and working on your energy. Because if you get hurt and you have to get heart surgery or you need to take medication for your heart, no one's embarrassed to say that they, need heart medication.
Right.
But for someone to admit that they could use some work on their internal energies and the way that they think, it's almost like it's such a bad thing, and that there's a shame that comes along with not having it right.
Mm,
But we're just a product of our environment. We're a product of the situations we've seen, the
yeah.
the relationships that we've been around, and all we know. I remember growing up and feeling like, oh, everyone else's house isn't like mine.
Right. Right.
It's difficult, and what may be traumatic to me is different than somebody else. Like,
Right.
I had abandonment issues, but you have had trauma and you came from what is perceived a healthy home.
Right.
So we can have our own different experiences, and they're not better or worse, but we have to be able to feel validated, in the right to feel these things, because I think
Yeah.
the right to feel is something
Yeah.
that people feel shamed about a lot.
Well, and it's interesting you brought that up. You brought up shame and then you brought the right to feel. And like when you think about the chakras, one of my favorite authors is Anodea Judith, and she has written, the basic rights of a chakra and the demons of a chakra. And so a lot of times, it's helpful to know those so that when you're feeling a negative experience, you can release it, and know what chakra it's attached to. So just to run through them real quick, like the root chakra at the base of the spine, the right of the root chakra is the right to be here and to have. So anytime we feel, the demon is fear. So when we don't feel like we have a right to be somewhere, we often feel a little bit anxious or fearful, right? So that's the, right and demon of the root chakra. The sacral chakra, which is just a little further up, which is sort of in the, lower abdomen, lower back, in line with the sacrum. It is the right to feel And the right to feel pleasure. I always add pleasure there because the demon is guilt. And oftentimes if we live in guilt, we're squashing our sacral chakra.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I ate that ice cream and it was pleasurable and now I feel so guilty having done it. Like just
Mm-hmm.
simple things like that. The solar plexus is your right to act and be an individual. And the demon is shame. And the heart chakra is the right to love and be loved. There's that combination of loving and being loved. And that's something that, like you say, you struggled with
And
and
I
you
can give
overcame.
love. I can give
Give
love, but
it.
receiving it, I have a harder time. When people compliment me, I'm like, all right.
I know. Yeah.
It's so
And
hard to hear that.
and the demon there is grief. Sorrow, sadness is the demon of the heart chakra. So like the giving and receiving are important. And we talked about having to fill that up. Yourself. Like you have to love
Yeah.
yourself in order to love others healthily. So the throat chakra, the right is the right to speak and be heard. When you speak, if you're not, people can hear the words coming out of your mouth. They might not understand what you're saying. And it's
Exactly.
hearing is not just hearing, it's understanding.
I struggle with that a lot. I
Yeah.
feel like I over-explain because I want to feel heard and understood
Yeah.
and not be misunderstood.
Right. Well, and the demon of the throat chakra is lies, and so, we can lie to ourselves. We can tell ourselves, I always use the example for myself. Oh, this relationship is healthy for me. Like, no, it's not. Get out of there.
Okay.
But, they need me. This is good. Like, oh, that codependency crap
Mhm.
comes into play with the throat chakra lies. The third eye, is the right to see. And I always add to see beyond what is right in front of you as matter, but
Mhm.
experience and see energy and experience and see your intuition. It's also your perception. Like, so third eye, it gets a little
A little
cloudy.
tricky.
Yeah. And then your crown chakra is the right to know. Like you have a right to know, and the demon is attachment. Did I mention the demon of the third eye? I don't think I did. Third
Oh.
eye is the right to see beyond, and the demon is delusion.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah, and
helpful.
like yeah, and the crown being attachment. So it's really helpful to know that like these are all standard things we feel at a regular
But
times in our.
everyone feels these things,
Yeah.
and that you're not alone. That's one thing that I hoped to achieve from these videos is to help people know that we're all struggling.
Hmm.
Even though we're here in this place, we're not done. We're
Right.
constantly learning, growing, messing up, falling, getting back up. And that's the beauty of it. And I think that people see healers. We're not healers. We help guide healing. But think they see people with it all together and it's an unattainable goal.
Yeah.
I always thought, okay, you know what? I'll get into coaching when I'm there. I'll get in coaching when I'm complete. And I had one moment, I was like, you know what? I should just do it now because I feel like people could connect with me better knowing that I'm not perfect. I haven't gotten it all together, but I still, I've gotten this far.
Right.
I can tell you how to get this far.
We're all suffering from the human condition, and
We
it's
are.
always about progress and not perfection. And we just have to take steps towards self-awareness. And that's one of the reasons I really fell in love with the chakras, was more about my own self-awareness and how to heal myself. Like how to work on myself to a point of healing. The chakras, there's so many different ways that we can work with one. For me, the root chakra is the issue. So reconnecting with my body through physical activity is really healthy for me. Reclaiming my right to be here. And actually massage therapy, I was guided into massage therapy through Reiki. I started with Reiki, and when I got to massage therapy, I did it just because somebody told me I should, and I was like, oh, why not, I'll try it. And then I got to school and I was like, holy cow, like this is really where I need to be. And it helped me connect with my body in a healthy way, understanding what safe touch was, what, experiencing sensations in the body that were not uncomfortable. And then, just,
That intimacy.
yeah, exactly.
Intimacy
It's such
in
a
a way
growth.
that's not sexual. Because I
Right.
don't think people realize that you can have intimacy without sexuality.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
We're only a cumulative of our experiences up until this point. So if that's all you've experienced,
Exactly.
that's what you're gonna assume or think of something.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
think
Oh,
too, like think just looking at, like the heart chakra too for you. So like healing practices for you could be things like, working on your inner child, especially with it being abandonment issues or, self-acceptance, like you said, the
yeah.
self-love,
Tending to that child who never
self-acceptance.
felt loved enough.
Yeah. Writing and journaling are almost on every single chakra you can do writing and journaling, and I'm a huge proponent of writing, but I do understand that some people are not comfortable with it. But yeah, there are ways that we can work to balance our chakras.
I think overall it's just a matter of taking a hard look at yourself and recognizing the things that are holding you back from living a truly fulfilling life.
Yeah,
And it's like, ask yourself, is this characteristic, is it working for you? And if it's
yeah,
not, do something about
right.
it.
So I think in our next videos, we were going to do some just descriptions of each chakra. The next 7 videos will be one chakra at a time.
Dive a little deeper.
Yeah, dive a little deeper into each one of them and also provide you with a meditation that you're able to practice to bring yourself into balance when you're feeling out of balance. And if you have any questions, comments, please feel free. We would love to hear your feedback. You can email us, you can leave comments under the video. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Thanks
Please
for
and
joining
thank
us.
you.